Okay, we're going to look at some concepts in chapter 1, and my goal here is not to read through all of these slides. There's a lot of slides, and they mimic the content in your book. I do expect that every week you guys are going to open up the book and do the readings. I read through the chapter. It took me all of about, a half hour, something like that. And I figured, that's about the amount of time you guys should spend on reading each week. I typically will give you no more than one chapter at a time. Sometimes I'll give you a chapter and then one of the technology guides at the back of the book. This week, the whole point is to kind of get you introduced to this whole concept of what information systems are, what information technology is, and kind of what it means to the world. But more importantly, as IT people, and I think just about everybody here is in an IT track for a degree, or maybe you're in like a combo degree. It's important. There's not anything you can do in this world that's not IT related these days, and you guys have made a really wise career choice, because this is one of the best paying fields out there for somebody that's like not a doctor or a lawyer or a captain of industry. And the catch is, what is it that you're actually into? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of fast forward a little bit, and you guys can read these slides on your own. But I want to look at this. So why did you guys get into IT? And now you guys might actually answer, and as I kind of did, it's like, I think computers are cool. I like playing video games, right? I was just intrigued by those things, real frankly. My first computer was given to me. I didn't pay for it. Somebody gave me an Apple IIe, right? And granted, at the time it was old. It's kind of like me taking my 8-year-old laptop and giving it to somebody, but they've never had a computer before, so they were excited about it, right? And it was enough to get me interested to play video games, to work with word processing, to learn how to type commands at a command prompt, and how to save files and silly things like that. And, that's what kind of propelled me to get into doing this as a career, because it was like, well, at least if I'm interested in it, I'll want to do it, right? And you know what? That hasn't changed. I'm probably more into it now than I was then. Really intrigued by it and all levels of it, both from personal technology to corporate things. So what kind of things can you do in IT? Well, of course, there's executive level positions, like the CIOs that they're pointing out here, but there's all sorts of roles, and there's actually so many of them. A lot of them are still being invented as we speak. In fact, they say the job titles that you guys will probably have in the future don't even exist yet today. If you would ask me, when I was finishing school, would I imagine myself doing what I'm doing right now in this way? Not at all. Teaching was not on my radar. Working in IT in this capacity was not anything I was dreaming about. But here I am, right? And it's cool. All right. So what kind of stuff is out there? So what they did is they went out and they looked at a couple different sources, and they're looking at top job rankings from a few what I would call reputable sources. Forbes, of course, is a very reputable business magazine. And now, somebody look at the published date on our book. What is the published date of our textbook? And where do you find that in the book? It's on the title page, right? What is our published date? Well, the last published date for this is 2016. It's already 3 years old, in printed format, which probably means it's even older than that. So back in 2016, these were the rankings for #1 career paths. In other words, jobs that are available. And notice right at the top, now I teach web, right? And web and software are really very similar. We teach how to create applications, and whether the application's delivered through a browser or natively through an operating system, it's basically what we do. Job prospects for this are excellent. They have remained excellent for a long time. And the rate of growth in the number of job positions is in the 20% range, projected over the next 10 years. So that means every year there'll be 20% more jobs in that field. Do you know what the average rates of pay are for these jobs? Yeah, well, read your book. Your book, printed in 2016, said that the median salary, so the most commonly achieved salary countrywide, was in the low 100s. If you happen to be somebody who worked in a management position, so usually if you're working in management, you've been doing it for at least 5 years, and you worked your way up, and now you might control a few people or tell them what to do, supervise them. Then you get up into the 150s. If you're really super talented, they'll pay you a lot of money to do this job, folks, even here in Wisconsin. One of our IT advisors on our advisory board is a guy that runs a number of different companies. He originally came from Racine, went to Silicon Valley, started a bunch of companies, get them up and running, would sell them, make a bunch of money, start another one, and do that process many times over. And he told me that there's so many jobs open in the Bay Area that they can't even possibly fill them. So I want you guys to think about that as you go out and look for work. Don't keep yourself limited to stuff that's here in Racine, Kenosha, Walworth counties. Look across the country. There's no reason why you can't work remotely for Google or Microsoft. Right. So this is from Money Magazine, same thing, software architect, database administrator, healthcare IT. Did you know that Gateway actually has a program here called Health Information Technology for people that work in the medical industry, that work with patient records and billing and information systems? And the reason they get specialized training is because they have specialized stuff that they do that takes IT knowledge and combines it with healthcare knowledge, right? So if you know what a phlebotomist is, what's a phlebotomist? It's a person that draws blood. That's a phlebotomist, right? So that's why you need some training. Notice number 14 is a really interesting one, user experience designer. You know what they do?
They just test websites, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, think of what a user experience is. When you interface with any device, you're creating the screens, what it looks like, how it behaves, right? Have you ever used an app and you go, man, this sucks. I mean, it works, but it sucks, right?
Yeah.
People that are user experience designers just design what the screens look like and how the people interface. And that's a career? Yeah, and it's a high-paying one, too. Real high-paying one. All right. So, something to think about as you guys kind of prepare yourselves to go out into the world is that the jobs are in very high demand, and that's not going to change anytime in the near future. Things are changing, though, right? So the people that are in the networking program, how many are in networking? Okay, good portion of you, right? Good third, half, something like that. Now you guys learn how to deal with infrastructure, right? Servers, wiring, routers, switches, wireless, all that kind of stuff. Do you know what's happening in the networking world that's really changing a lot? What's happening to all of our servers in networking? And first of all, what the heck is a server? That's somebody who brings you your food, right? Yeah, well, sincerely, let's answer that question. What is a server?
Where all your data is stored, where you can pull information from any given kind of area. So basically, if you have your laptop, you can pull data from like a corporate database.
Okay.
Or YouTube, for example, is run on servers, and all their videos are stored there.
All right, we're getting closer to an answer I want to hear. So what is a server? It's a really big, powerful computer.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe the capability of all our machines combined, in one box. A lot of storage, a lot of processing, a lot of memory, a lot of connectivity, and the ability to deal with a lot of people connecting to it all at the same time, pulling information, running applications, whatever it is. Big, powerful computer. But what's happening to those servers now? Well, they're not really going away. They're moving to where? The cloud. Okay, what the heck is the cloud?
Still a server.
Just a giant database.
The giant data dump spot, one person says.
That's what I kind of said, giant data dump spot.
It's somebody's computer.
Well, you know what? The truth is, it's still really big, powerful computers, right? But they're not necessarily located physically where you are. All right, so there's some terminology here that's kind of interesting. We'll review this terminology as we go. But like, for example, if we walk across the hall here into our server room, and we will do that in later weeks. I'll show you some of the gear we have here on campus. And the networking people probably have already seen it. We have servers. So for example, my web program's got a web server. We also have a couple of SharePoint servers. And then we also have virtualized servers within that environment. And these are machines that our students connect to run their websites and applications, right? Now, we have what we call on-premise servers. They're physical machines that are right here across the hall. I can go see them, touch them, you know, plug in a keyboard and a monitor and actually operate them.
Like a LAN server, maybe? Is that the right terminology? Or if you're wrong on that?
Well, typically we'll call them like an on-premise, or we just call it a box. You know, it's right here, right in our room. But what a lot of companies are doing now, and what the big move is instead of buying the equipment and hiring the people to operate it and wire it and back it up and maintain it and upgrade it and, you know, clean the viruses off and all that stuff, you just buy the service from Microsoft or Google, or who's the big player in server? Amazon. In fact, that's even bigger than their retail. I want to blow your mind a little bit more. So much stuff is deployed on top of what they call AWS, Amazon Web Services. And all it is you're buying cloud computing space to run your stuff, store your files, hold your databases. So what does that do to your networking people if the servers are in the cloud? Yeah, you might not have to deal with physical machines when you guys move into, in fact, I'm going to predict that most of you networking people, depending on the kind of company that you work for, in the future probably won't have to contend with physical equipment. Not that the physical equipment doesn't exist, but you can run a giant data center with a handful of people. But you still have to manage the applications, you still have to manage the stuff that's on them, right? So your jobs will change. You can't even really predict how yet, because 10 years ago, the cloud was a concept, and now we're kind of seeing it come into fruition that people are actually using it to do things and run our businesses. All right. I'm not going to talk too much more about that, but I do want to look at this next slide. And when we talk about information, what information is, really, when we talk about information systems, folks, information itself is just data. And the book makes a really good point. If you tell me, and this is the example they use, you tell me what your GPA is, right? And that's a 3.8, right? I wish, right? Especially in high school, I would wish to have that. But it means nothing if I just give you a number. When I couple it with your student ID number or your name, now I have a piece of information, because I'm going to say that Eric's got a 3.9, and that 3.9 is associated to Eric, right? Now it's become information. When you start to gather up a bunch of information, you start to store it in logical structures that we call databases. And databases are really at the heart of most operating systems, applications, and a lot of the things that we do, we don't even think about it. But it's that controlling of that information and what you do with it that generates an information system. Now, an information system, I said before, does not need to be electronic, because we used to do this stuff on paper. What has changed in the last 50 to 100 years is now everything is electronic. You cannot move forward. You can't do a darn thing without that information that's out on the cloud or on the server. When I was a young man, youngish man, we had this really revolutionary thing happen. It was called a time card. You guys don't know what I'm talking about probably, and that's okay, right? So, Not quite. Okay, so let me explain. Because I was young, just becoming an adult, right? And I had my own bank account because I kind of worked, so I'd take a little money and put it in the bank. And then it was like a Friday night or something, you know, you'd run down to the bank, stand in a really long line or in the drive-through, wait for a half hour to get to the teller and go, "Can I have 20 bucks? Yeah, out of savings. Yes, please. What do you need it for? I'm drinking tonight, so I need some cash." Then they came out with the time card. You know what the time card was? It was an ATM card before the Visa or MasterCard logo was on it. So we could walk up to a machine, so we had already be out at the bar, and then you'd walk across the street to the bank, go to the ATM, pull out 20 bucks and go, "Let's drink."
Is that why they called it a time machine?
Yeah, because the cards were called TYME.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not like you were going back in time,
Yeah.
but you didn't have to stand at the bank. So the ATM was kind of revolutionary, right? Because you didn't have to like go to the bank when it was open to get some cash, right? And of course that enabled all sorts of trouble, right? Because if you're out at the bar and you're already drunk, and it's like, "Hey, what's 20 more bucks? Let's get some more drinks." You're just asking for trouble. In the past, you'd have to plan ahead. It's like, how many beers are we gonna have? 11 beers. You know, you'd have to do some math and figure it out. So, as you guys kind of, maybe even before you were born, we had another revolution in banking that happened. What was it?
Quick question. Who? Before who was born?
Well, okay. Before anybody who doesn't have gray hair was born.
Alright.
Internet banking, right? All of a sudden, I didn't have to go to the bank or to the ATM to see how much money I had in my account. Heck, I'm just pulling it up on my phone. "Hey, let's go out." No, I'm kind of broke here. You know? In fact, my account's negative. Damn it, you know. But you just have that information in your hand now. You can just like log in, see if you got paid, see where your money went. Did that check clear yet? Oh, well, I do have drinking money, right? Yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff online. You don't even have to go to the bank anymore. That's kind of weird, right? What's the other thing banks are doing now? How many use educators? Okay, I do too, right? I had no idea they were a Racine company. But the branch that I go to by my house, which is like in an urban setting in Milwaukee, really busy branch, they have no tellers.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one
when
on-
we started going over
Yeah, really weird. And at first I was like, this sucks, right? But then I started to think about it from the bank's perspective. Why would the bank do that?
So they won't get robbed.
You can't steal money from somebody on a TV screen, right? Sorry, Bonnie and Clyde, not happening, right? Because it's pretty much like going to an ATM, you know? But from the standpoint of the bank, it makes a whole lot of sense because they just put everybody in the same office. Now, we're starting to see that around here now. But I saw that in New York City about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. Like you walk down the street and you walk into like, it wasn't even like a whole bank branch, it was like a little kiosk and you'd like step in. Well, what are these people doing? That's the bank? That's Chase Manhattan? I thought they'd have a big, no, they just had a little kiosk and they were all over the place. So they were like onto it well before we were.
They're all still working in that building though, still. Not like
The
from
secure
another, I thought they were working from like another building.
Yeah.
Doing it from there, but no, they're all still in the same building.
Yeah, they're all in the same building.
There's more stable security.
Yeah. So nobody can like go up and say, "Put all the money in the bag and let's go." That's not happening.
That's kind of funny because, how about Capital One? You know, they have those Capital One cafes.
Yep.
The bank and cafe all at once.
Right. Well, folks, this is just to kind of get your brains thinking on this stuff. We are calling it a day. We're ending a few minutes early because you guys were all on time, which was fantastic. And you guys have been a good crowd. What I do want to point out before you leave is what's coming up next. Okay, so I want to prep you. And so here's what I'm going to do. And I'll actually record this into the video just in case you didn't take notes and forgot. So you can't give me like an excuse. You never said that in class. I'm like, yeah, I did. Here it is on the video. All right, so here. Yes, it's all in the recording.